Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome back, Wiffleball nerds, for a special NWLA pre-tournament podcast / video. This is a special occasion. So I'm joined by Commissioner of Griffleball, Jeremy Ratajczyk.
How we doing out there? Glad to be back on Inside the GBL here, my favorite non-TV show.
Non-TV show. The second appearance. I think you made one earlier in the year before the season started.
I did, yeah.
But this one's always a little bit more special since we're talking about the national tournament.
Yep, can't wait.
So today we're going to go over essentially just what we did last year, Griffleball, in 2015. We had a good run.
Yeah, we did. We like always, we kind of ran out of pitching at the end of the year. Always seems to be a problem for us. I think it's pretty obvious that at that tournament you could never have too much pitching. Really, we just kind of broke down on Sunday. We had as good of a Saturday as anyone, and then we arms got tired on Sunday.
It didn't help that we also lost someone in the middle of that. Someone got hurt.
Yeah.
Couldn't pitch anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Ethan Arve got hurt against he pitched one inning against Potomac on Saturday, and then he's had his arm hurt, and
he was done.
He couldn't pitch on Sunday, so that was it. So we were just left with basically only Kuna, and then we didn't really have an established number two after him. So.
All right. Well, we'll talk about what happened last year. We'll go over each game by game. We want to break those down. So our first pool play game last year, Griffleball won 7-0 over Susquehanna River League, who are now not in the tournament, but pretty much replaced by WWF this year.
Yes.
So some of the highlights. What do you remember from that game?
That was it was a good game for us. We're kind of off and running at the tournament after that game. We're all it's first game of the day, so it was pretty early. So it took us a while to get loose, but. We put together some good at bats that game, and Andrew Feldy was just dominant that game. Like, he was probably the best player on our team for that game. Like, he had a great game pitching, and then I think he even hit a 3-run homer that game.
He did. He actually hit that 3-run home run, I think, in the very first inning. Here it is, right here. All right, great home run. Great way to get us started. Rad, do you remember anything else from Felday that game?
I know that was his first game at nationals. He was he kind of had the national jitters, but he locked in, and he looked really good, and he kind of established himself as a pretty good pitcher in my book with that game.
10 strikeouts, yeah, came out of nowhere too. It was just to try him out.
Only allowed one hit. Too, right?
One hit, yeah, insane for the youngest member of the Griffleball League.
Yeah.
And then after that, in pool play, things didn't go as planned after that. Good pitching from Griffleball, but in the second game we took on Tampa Bay. Lost that game 2-0, but it could have been easily a tie since it's pool play.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Tampa Bay, obviously an established team at that tournament. They won the championship in 2013. We knew that was gonna be a low scoring game. We had Kuna pitch a few innings, I think, that game, and I think I pitched a few. But against when you're facing a Chris Harley out there, it's tough to score runs off that guy. And they proved to us that they were still a little bit better than we were.
Yeah, 2-run shot off of you. Pretty much gave us no hope because it was really hard to get people on base.
Yeah, Harley throws strikes. I think Shane Efforts might actually started that game for them. And he was the lefty they got there. He was pounding the strike zone with some velocity too. So it was hard to get anything going offensively. Unfortunately, the 2-run home run that I gave up was just too much to surrender because it was with the time limits and pool play, didn't really have enough time or enough innings, I should say, to get a rally going.
And we already know playing in Griffleball, pool play, whatever.
Yeah.
So the next game, we took on Potomac. Keep messing up those names.
Ask Galloway.
We lost that 1-0. Also a good pitching matchup. It looks like we were doomed by a few errors in that game, and that's the game we were talking about. Ethan Arve getting hurt, the MVP for Griffleball last year.
Yeah. I think there was we had a missed peg attempt. There was a ground ball up the middle. I'm not exactly sure, what inning that occurred in, but I think that might have been the run that came around to score. And it was, I think the runner was going to third base, and we missed the pegging attempt, and he ended up scoring. So that was a tough one. And then their pitcher Crawford shut us down. We didn't. The bats kind of disappeared in pool play after the game against SRL.
Yeah, we ran out of gas there. Then, once the tournament actually started, after the pool play ended, the GBL took on Susquehanna once again, and it was almost doom and gloom because we were down 5-0 very early in that game.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, came back to win that game 7-5, all thanks to a few late inning runs. One especially that you remember.
Yeah, it was Kuna's 2-run home run. I think we were tied in the sixth inning, I think we might have been tied in the sixth inning, and Kuna hit a 2-run home run. It was a nice shot to right field, and kind of knew at that point that we already had him in the game. That was pretty much a walk-off shot. Even though we were the away team, we all kind of knew that it was over right then and there. It was a big momentum shift, and that was definitely, it's going to go down as one of the biggest hits in GBL NWLA tournament history.
In case you missed it, here is Matt Kuna's home run and our reaction from the sidelines. There's Kuna's home run. As you see, we're all pretty pumped for that first game of the tournament.
Yeah, that's to win that first game on Sunday, or in Double Elam on Saturday. That's always a big game to win because at that point you don't have to win every single game the rest of the tournament in order to win it. You kind of almost have to go 2-0 on Saturday. So winning that first game is a good start. It also guarantees that you don't have to play in Dangerfield, which is nice. Yeah, you don't want to. It's Dangerfield tournaments. It's a rough one for the teams with high expectations. So it was a good one to get that first one out of the way.
Yes, it was. And then the second one, even better, taking on the #1 overall seed after pool play, Skibby Wiffle Ball, and we had ourselves a very big third inning.
Yeah, that was, speaking of big moments for the GBL at the NWLA tournament. I think this is definitely the most memorable game we've ever had. Obviously Skibby Wiffle Ball was a #1 seed after pool play. They're the #1, and we were able to go out there and basically have a stage of a big upset. I think Nate had quite the blast that game.
He might have.
It was definitely that was a big one. It was nice little shot to left field. He had their bases were loaded, I think.
Grand slam, made himself a sandwich. In case you missed it, here it is. All right, that was Nate's grand slam. A big third inning, 10 runs.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah, it was definitely. It definitely got the monkey off our shoulders there with that one. Skibby's a really good team, but like that, winning that game, it was good for us, for our league, proving that we could beat one of the best teams at the tournament. We do play Skibby every year, but it was nice to beat him one more time this year. Kuna had a great game that game. He established himself as a premier pitcher in that game. Everyone knows how hard he could throw, but with that game, he established that he could throw strikes consistently for the entire game, and that's what he did. The Skibby, the SWBL, has a tremendous offense, arguably the best offense at the tournament, and I think he held him to just 3 runs all game. So it's a great job by Kuna.
Especially with Kuna throwing hard, throwing strikes. That's probably the most important aspect of the national tournament. If you can throw strikes and you're throwing hard, it's really hard to get hits.
It's a good combo to have for sure.
I would think you would say that about any sport too. As long as you throw strikes, I think you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
All right, so after that, going into Sunday, this is the farthest we've ever been in the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. We were pumped, ready to go the next day. We took on the Hitmen from Hesfield Wiffle Ball, and things started to get a little somber. In the 4th inning, the game was tied 4-4. We just lost control.
Yeah, I think there was a spot in that game. We were going against Matt Butchram, who was I believe he was a regional MVP at the 2015 regional, and he threw really hard, probably as hard as anyone. But he was wild. We were able to take our walks and get some runs on the board. We had a spot, I think, like the 3rd or 4th inning. I think we were actually up by 2 runs, and we had the bases loaded, and Kuna was up, and he hit a line drive right at a guy. Unfortunately, if he hits that a couple feet to the left or the right, that's probably going to clear the bases, and we would go up by 5 runs. We'd be looking a lot better, but it was right at the guy. He caught it, and I think the next inning, that's when Hesfield started rallying for their runs, and we never able to match them after that. So.
Yeah, I think it was in that 4th. They scored 7 runs to make it 11-4. We put a couple more up later in the game, but 8 walks in that 1 inning alone. That could doom a team.
Yeah, I mean, once a pitcher loses control in that, I mean, it's amazing, honestly, how fast a game could fall out of your grasp when your pitcher can't throw strikes. It's just just walk after walk, and then the big base hit, and then you're honestly you're done if you walk more than 4 or 5 guys in an inning. You're probably not going to win that game.
Right, you can probably recover, as you see at our regionals this year for Griffle Ball. Each game felt like we started with a bunch of walks, just trying to get control under, and then you guys kind of just shut the door after that. Like each inning, one bad inning.
And then, I think if you fall apart early there, I mean you have time to stage some rallies. But I think against Hesfield, it was just too late in the game to be able to rely on a rally against good pitching. I mean, for them, we're asking our offense to score 5 or 6 runs against good pitchers. I mean, it was the winners bracket semifinals. They were definitely throwing their best pitchers against us. So it's hard to rally off those guys. Honestly, it really is.
And then we would go straight to the double elimination. 1 game and we're done. And it just turned out that Flackney, smallpox, decided to have a career game against us.
Yeah.
And throw with the first perfect game in NWLA history.
I believe it was the first perfect game I ever had.
The second one happened this year. And Kuna was matching him pitch for pitch in that game.
Yeah, that was a game to remember. Honestly, he established early in the game that he was throwing hard and throwing strikes, hitting corners with a lot of movement. Kind of everything you don't want to see as a hitter, right? And it was just his day. We had to tip our cap. We were kind of hoping that if we were going to win that game, it would just be on a lucky solo home run by one of our guys, and Kuna would keep matching him. But unfortunately, Kuna kind of ran out of gas there at the end.
Just a couple of paper cuts.
Yeah, I mean, they got a couple base hits that really weren't necessarily hit hard, but just weren't hit at guys, and they were able to get a rally, and that was it for us. That's a tough way to lose the tournament. It was definitely our best tournament ever as a team, but that was a tough way to go out knowing we got a 6-hour drive ahead of us after we just had a perfect game thrown against us.
Yeah, that's probably the most disappointing thing. Like, we just lost and got perfect gamed against, and we got to drive 6 hours.
Yeah.
The way you drive might have been 7.
It was a tough drive.
And then, so that was it for the GBL last year. The celebration station didn't get to celebrate, unfortunately. So this year, we have our Griffle Ball.
Fat Cats.
Great name. I think it's like 10 times better than last year. I wasn't too sure about it last year.
Yeah.
This name actually fits with our team, the Griffle Ball. We're from Griffith, Panthers, Fat Cats, Paw Chest.
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
Yeah,
I like this one a little bit better.
It all falls under the cat motif, so we should be good.
So, how did you think of Fat Cats?
Honestly, I was just trying to think of a new name, like I do every year. Griffle Ball is known for switching their team name every year, so Fat Cats just came to me, and created a nice little logo with a fat cat and a Griffle Ball and a wiffle ball bat, and Fat Cats rhyme, so let's go with it. I didn't want to be the Paw Chest again. We can't be the same team.
Yeah, regional Paw Chest every year, but after that we got to change our name.
Yeah.
You had one more. I think you sent me a text like, you got any good names? I got nothing, but you sent me one and I didn't like it. You remember what that one was?
I think it was Cat Scratch Fever.
Cat Scratch Fever. Trying to go with the songs again, as we've been playing that song the entire tournament, all the way down there for 6 hours, going insane. But yeah, so let's talk about our Fat Cats. Our roster, we've already revealed it, but we'll go over player by player, how we both feel about them, and what they can bring to the table. First off, we're going to start with the manager, and probably, arguably, the best hitter in NWLA history, yourself.
All right. This is where I talk about myself.
Yeah, this is where you talk about yourself. But no, I mean, we looked up his career numbers: 393, 8 home runs, 44 RBIs. It's a lot of RBIs for career, and a very good OPS at 1093. Definitely didn't have the tournament you expected last year. Hit under 300. Probably the first tournament you ever did that.
Yeah.
Good arm too, in case we need it. But you're definitely going to be the most important hitter at our team. We're probably going to throw you right in the middle of the lineup and try to get runs driven in.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough year last year for me. I just never really got into a rhythm offensively. We faced some good pitchers there, faced some good teams. It was tough. But yeah, I mean, I think that I'm definitely looking to improve on last year. Don't want to have another year like that. So I've been putting in the time in the cage, the batting cages, to get better. So
I mean, if you look at his Griffleball numbers this year, he's clearly the MVP. So Ratajczyk looks ready to go, and he's been talking about this since the season started.
Swing hard in case you hit it.
That's another motto for the GBL.
I don't want to give away any secrets here, but I mean, at an NWLA tournament, it's kind of either have to be a home run or like a little like dribbler right in front of the foul ball,
right,
to get on base. So get it out of the park or don't hit it at all.
Yeah, we're trying to get power swings here for the GBL, or barely get past the foul line.
Yeah.
And then, so our best pitcher making a return appearance after we thought he was retired from wiffle ball. Even has his number retired on the website as number 7.
That's interesting. Got a retired number, he's still in the league.
He's still in the league. Comes back, makes a comeback, plays 2 games this year for Taka. And it's Kyle Litzter. Great pitcher, great hitter. We need him to be our ace this year.
Yeah. Everyone should know who Kyle Litzter is, right? I mean, he's
pretty much.
He's been at NWLA, I think, 3 years out of 4, making his return this year. He established himself in 2014 as one of the best pitchers at the tournament. He did not give up an earned run all tournament. His whip is right up there with anyone else. He doesn't walk guys. He throws hard. He's got movement. He's the real deal as a pitcher.
Yeah, pitched 39 innings, had 68 strikeouts in his career, so I like his strikeout average right there.
Some football critics wouldn't put Litzter up in the same category as the Farkases, the Bischoffs, the Flackneys, but I think he's as good as anyone, considering he doesn't walk anyone really.
Yeah, I consider him in that top tier as well, or like just right below it. But maybe a tournament like if he comes in and Griffleball wins the whole thing, and he's the main reason why our pitching succeeded. Yeah, you can throw him in there.
Yeah, he's an ace. I mean, if we're in the championship game, he's throwing the championship game. He's our ace, and he's got the stuff good enough to win it.
All right. So then we comes to our number 2 pitcher / most likely like a closer type.
Yeah.
It's going to be Matt Kuna, and if you don't remember, we were just talking about him. One of the best pitchers last year at the tournament.
Yeah, he like I said, against the Skibby SWBL, he had a great game against them. If you hold that offense to 3 runs, you're a pretty good pitcher. He did that. He threw hard. He threw strikes. Always has been one of the best pitchers in Griffleball, and he had a rough year his first year in 2014, but last year he found his rhythm. He got into his zone, and he was unhittable for a while there.
Yeah, he was even unhittable in that last game. They just HRL just barely won that game just in the last inning.
Yeah. A
walk-off, and it felt like that game could have went 9-10 innings before there was a decision.
Yeah, that was a tough one to lose, but yeah, he definitely, in my book, he told me with his effort last year that that he's a good pitcher. He could beat any team. I think he's capable of beating any team, honestly. So
he is. I mean, Andrew Felde can do it as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of him, he needs to get hitting-wise. He only had 1 hit last year. But I think he's gonna do a little bit better than this year. I think there's a lot of expectations for that one.
He's I mean, in our practices we've had, he's been scoring up a lot of balls. Sometimes honestly at that tournament, especially with us, I mean, guys it takes them a few years to get comfortable with playing with those balls. I mean, Litzter didn't turn into a good pitcher until his 2nd or 3rd year. Kuna wasn't a good pitcher until his 2nd year. So I mean, maybe now Kuna just needed one more. Some more experience hitting, and now his battle come around this year was what we're hoping for.
And if you tune into Inside the GBL with Andrew Felde this week, he was talking about the same thing at your practices, that Kuna was looking good.
Yeah, he was making jokes that he wants to save all of his good hits for nationals because we had some live BP there, and he was just squaring us up everywhere, hitting home runs all over the field. So we're hoping that he could translate that up to Ohio next weekend.
Speaking of Felde, he is our next on our list as another pitcher. We don't know if we have a 3 and 4 pitcher right now. It's between Andrew Felde and Ryan Voges.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Felde first. Definitely made himself known last year in the very first game.
Yeah, good game against SRL. And then, Arm kind of got tired there a second time through. I'm not sure it was the best managerial decision to throw him against SRL again after they saw him. They had so many at bats against him. They definitely had put together better at bats in him in double E limit than they did in full play. But part of that's fatigue too. He threw a lot of pitches that first game, and Arm kind of velocity was down. It was a little bit more wild. Same thing that happens to a lot of pitchers at the tournament.
It also happened to him at regionals too.
Yeah.
When we lost to KWL, he was just done after that game.
Pitched a great first game against WSEM, and then threw him against KWL, hoping for another great performance, and he just didn't have it.
Yeah, if we would have ended up tying that game, we would have ended up winning that regional.
Yeah.
And probably be sitting in the 1 through 4 seeds instead of the 5 through 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, Felde, and he doesn't want to hit for some reason, even though his average is up there.
Yeah.
But we were already talking about that. He's probably better off saving his energy for being a pitcher.
Yeah, and that's definitely be one of our approaches this year. Is our pitchers are going to be DHing all the time, just to make sure they save energy. We want to make sure that we're fresh. Our goal is to be almost as fresh on our last game of the tournament as we are on the first. I know that's going to be hard with the heat and the humidity and everything,
and possibly the rain.
Yeah, but we do have a big roster this year. It's a full roster, 8 guys. So hoping to save our energy throughout the tournament.
Speaking of the next pitcher I was talking about, Ryan Voges making his first appearance. Didn't come to regionals, but making his first appearance at the national tournament. GBL numbers: 8-5 career, 2.74 ERA. 57 strikeouts. I mean, he can pitch. We know he's been a Cy Young candidate for 2 straight years.
Yeah.
It was the Rookie of the Year last year for Griffleball.
Yeah.
What do we need to see from him?
Well, we need to see him throw strikes. He's a hard thrower. Teams are going to make a new pitcher to the league, to the tournament, I should say, establish that he can throw strikes. So it's going to be up to him to hit the strike board. He throws really hard. If he's hitting the strike board, he's going to be pretty much unhittable. He throws as hard as anyone in our league, and that's what it's going to boil down to for him.
All right, and then after that, we got Voges. That's pretty much our pitching staff right there. It's going to consist of Lister, Kuna, Felde, and Voges. That's pretty good, in my opinion. If I had to pick a team to put together in the GBL, that would be a good roster to put together.
Yeah, this is the this year we didn't really have any scheduling conflictions. Availability was pretty open for everyone for this tournament, so we're taking pretty much the best team that we can take from our league.
And then after that, we have our best fielder. In case you already don't know it, it's Nate Bryan.
Yeah, people should know who Nate Bryan is by now.
He can cover a lot of ground.
He's been called the strongest guy at the tournament, the best looking guy, the best fielder. He's got a lot going for him in Dublin, Ohio.
Yeah, so they know who he is. I don't think we need to talk about him very often, but he's going to be out there in the field pretty much consistently. And speaking of our other fielder, it's probably going to be Voges too, because after Nate Bryan's, it reduced his role here at the Stallionaires in Griffleball. Mm-hmm. So he's only got a couple games under his belt as well. But Ryan Voges is probably going to be in the field with him too. So Nate and Voges, they can cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, I definitely. If there, I feel like in our league in the GBL, if there's a fly ball, if those guys aren't going to get to it, then no one is. They cover a lot of ground out there. That's kind of an underrated aspect of NWLA play. Not a lot of teams talk about it, or not a lot of leagues talk about it. But if your pitcher is struggling and you need your defense to make a good play, that can help turn a game around. Like it happened against us, against Hess Field. There was that line drive that Kuhn hit with the bases loaded that was caught. There was another one where I think Jimmy Cole made like a diving play.
Oh my God, that was like one of the greatest plays I've ever seen.
Yeah, his body was just like parallel to the ground, and he just made the diving catch and saved some runs with that. So definitely, no one really talks about fielding, but it's definitely a good tool to have on your team for winning teams.
And then we have our leadoff hitter, because at regionals he was getting on base a lot. Jackson Bazia, the bus driver.
Yep. The Taka bus driver.
The Taka bus driver. He hit 333 at regionals with 2 home runs and 10 RBIs, and his OPS was like 1,700.
Yeah. He had a tremendous regional. I know driving down there talking to him, he didn't really know what to expect.
He didn't know if he was going to like it either.
That's true. He didn't know if he was going to like it either, but it seems like he likes it now that he had a good regional. he mashed the ball. I think he led our team in OPS, right?
Yeah.
RBIs. I think he led our team also. It took him maybe a game or two to get his feet wet, but those last 2 games he looked as polished as any NWLA player. You know, he was really comfortable. He was getting on base a lot. We're hoping he could be an on-base machine at the top of our lineup in Ohio.
That'd be big. And then last but not least, our Griffleball All-Star, a Fat Cats All-Star, Ryan Gallagher.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you, this guy might be the most pumped up person for the tournament I've ever met since the tournament started. He is ready to go.
Yeah.
His numbers might not indicate from career. Like, he hit 244, 2 home runs and 8 RBIs, but as you said, the Griffleball struggled in their first year, so these numbers can only be improving.
Yeah.
And he's definitely a great hitter for your Gas House Gorillas.
Yeah, well, with his numbers too, the regionals were his first time ever playing there, and we did have a tough regional 2 years ago. We faced Stroni with WSEM, and he kind of carved us up, and that was Gallagher's first time ever playing. So at nationals, he showed that he can be a good hitter. I think he had 2 home runs at nationals. I don't think anyone else at our team had 2. So he had 2 against. I think they were both in the same game. It might have been 2 against SRL, and I know he led off the game with a home run in WLM. So, and then I think also he might have had like a single or a double against Chris Harley too. So he showed that he could hit good pitching, which is definitely good. He's one of the fastest guys in the league, if not the fastest. So yeah, he brings a lot to the table offensively. So we're hoping that he can get some extra base hits. He's a good bet to lead our team in extra base hits at the tournament.
Yeah, not a bad fielder either. Got made fun of a little bit for his reaction time last year.
Yeah, there was a play that we all recall where his reaction time might have been a little slow.
I think it was the last game of the tournament, wasn't it?
Yeah, HRL. Yeah, we joke about it a lot during GBL games, but it's a thing of the past that he's gonna be locked in this year, and I'm expecting him to make a really big impact.
And definitely deserves the All-Star nod he's getting this year for Griffleball.
Yeah, he showed that he's a pretty legit player in that tournament, and I was happy to award him with the All-Star nomination.
All right, then next we're going to move on to our last segment here. We're going to break down team by team, essentially in tiers. We have 4 different tiers with 16 teams. We're going to name them as we go along for these tiers. We'll start with them right now with our Dangerfield tier. All right, so the Dangerfield tier, we have our first team. We have 4 teams. We separate them into 4 different categories. So we're calling this the Dangerfield tier. Great name. We're going to go with the team who just barely squeaked in because the Loons didn't want to go.
Yeah, Sheffield.
The Brew City Wiffle Keg Crushers.
All right, so I don't know much about this team. I don't think, GBL has never played this team. I guess a key player that stands out according to statistics is Mike Schad.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, we're good regional, 417.
Homer, 3 RBIs.
But looking at their record, 1-7 all time. They got 1-3-1 in regionals. Missed the cut, but got the alternate.
Yeah.
So
kind of had to put him in the Dangerfield tier, right?
Yeah. And before we could go on, we're not experts in any way, shape, or form. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Wait, we don't?
Oh, I guess not.
No, we'll leave that up to WSEM and Carl Coffee.
Pretty much. So after that, we're gonna go with the next tier. Well, not the same tier, but next team in that tier. Backyard Wiffleball League, the Breaker Boys.
Yeah, that's another league. Really don't know anything about. Unfortunately, haven't seen them at regionals. Haven't seen them haven't played against them in Ohio. They got a guy on their team, Doug Nowitzki. We're probably gonna have him as our key player. Sounds like Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki's a pretty good basketball player. So yeah, we'll go with that.
Good comparison there. Hit 600 at regionals. 2-2-1 at the regionals. 5-9 all time.
Yeah.
Did they make it last year?
They did not.
Did not. No. So part of the Dangerfield tier. After that, sorry Trent already. We have.
It's the hardest part of the whole video.
Yeah.
Right?
Minnesota Wiffleball North Stars in the Dangerfield tier. They did win the Dangerfield last year.
Yeah.
So it's fitting they're in the Dangerfield tier again, but going through it all.
I wish I didn't have to put a
I know.
Steffi's team in.
We didn't want to put you in there. We wanted to be making it Sunday.
Yeah. If it was a ranking of like the teams with the best uniforms, we would have to put him in the top tier.
Definitely. One of the greatest
They're
uniforms I've
always
seen. Any key player?
From Minnesota, Matt Peisert, maybe? Is that how you say it? Peisert?
Peisert.
I don't know. according to their stats, he might be their best pitcher. I guess they. I don't know. That's Minnesota. I mean, I know they've been at the tournament the last few years, but we've never played them. I don't know too much about them, but I don't think they have a marquee player on their team. Trent Stepp is a big name. It could be him. I think statistically Matt might be their best pitcher. So you got to start with pitching to become a good team in this league. The first thing you got to do is find your ace and then go from there. So if Matt Pizard can be the ace, then maybe they won't be a danger field tier. We'll see.
All right, and then after that we have our backyard neighbors.
Somehow that we don't know.
Apparently no one knew about it.
Yeah.
Leroy Wiffle Association, Legend of Leroy in the Dangerfield tier. Griffleball did play them.
Yeah, we did. We played them in our third game, I believe it was. We had a good game. Mike Kubaki
Pitched well after the first inning.
Yeah, I think he had a grand slam in that game too, right?
He did.
But at the same time, Leroy, they're a pretty competitive team. Seem to know what they're doing. Seem like a league that has a lot of potential in the long run, but right now they're still kind of getting their feet wet, style play wise. I do expect them to be a little bit better at nationals than regionals, but at the same time, competition is going to be a lot better at nationals. So yeah, it's just hard to rank leagues that are new to nationals anywhere but toward the bottom. But I wouldn't be surprised if they made a run though. I think they do have some potential.
Yeah, definitely. We might be seeing them soon. We already played them once. That was a good game. But like you said, it's hard to gauge newer teams in the tournament. Yeah, so especially when you're a new team, you saw it last year. They didn't fare so well. Or if you get a bad draw.
Yeah, that's also something that could come into play. So.
All right, then in our next tier, this took us forever to name it, but we called it the We Made It to Sunday tier. Yeah. So teams 9 through 12.
Yeah, the teams that know that they're not going to play in Dangerfield
at all.
Yeah.
All right, so the first team is the
PWL, the Fighting Galloways. They're okay. I mean, they could beat you. Obviously, they beat us last year.
They did.
They shut us out. I don't know. I think they just there's a few area aspects of their roster that they just need some more improvements with. Their pitcher Shannon is one of the best pitchers at the tournament. He's established himself over the years. That's no question about that. But who's gonna be their number two? Could it be Jim Shannon? Crawford, the guy that shut us out, are those guys? One of those guys has to step up for them and be a legitimate number two pitcher in double elim. So that's what it'll come down to. They need to find a number two pitcher.
And if that happens, you can see them pass this tier, obviously, that we made.
Yeah.
Then after that, we had the Greater Auburn Wiffle Ball League, the Stars, new to the tournament this year, had a very impressive regionals at 3-2. Don't know much about the league. Obviously, we haven't seen them play. But key player for that after looking at the stats?
Yeah. Obviously, that's no one I don't know too much about. Jason Vrucho, is it?
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it? He faced the most batters at their regional. Had a good ERA. Had 3 homers. Like I said, they're kind of in the same category as any other new league. You got to find your best player, your horse, and you got to ride him to the finish line. So, they got to have someone step up and be their leader, I guess. And
they could be a dark horse because, they look good at regionals, and if they bring extra help, like, say, we're doing Griffleball, they could be dangerous.
Yeah. If you have a good regional as a newer league, that means you obviously know what you're doing. Even the regionals, they're not a walk in the park. There's a lot of, this being the 5th year of the NWLA tournament, there's a lot of good teams at all the regionals, and that's just my opinion on it. The tournament is just getting better as years go on.
More competitive.
So for them to come in and have a 3-2 regional, that means they probably got a pretty good team.
Then after that, in the same tier, we made it to Sunday. We got the Wild Wiffle Ball Federation New Wiffle Order, a mouthful, but also probably the best name I've heard out there in a long time.
Yeah, not bad. NWO, I like it.
New team, but not. It's going to have some of the same players from Susquehanna.
Yeah, you got some familiar names on that team. Zach Artem, Loftus, and I think Mark Bellis too. The 3 players that were on SRL last year. SRL was, they weren't good in 2014, but they came back last year and they were actually not that bad at all. They gave us quite a thrilling game, the first game of double elim as we've already discussed. Zach Artem, I'm gonna have him as the key player on that team, and
Artem
The Artem Bomb, yeah. I think, well, according to his Twitter or his Facebook, he said he's thrown like 6 or 7 no-hitters or perfect games in a row, something like that. So, I mean, honestly, I don't care what league you're playing in. If you're doing that, you're a good pitcher. And he kind of showed last year at Nationals that he was a good pitcher. He throws hard and he throws strikes. So, I mean, obviously we've talked about it. That's a good combination to have. Everyone else, all the other good pitchers do it. We did rally off him, but it was a hard fought victory that game. It took some big home runs from Kuna, from Gallagher to finally get past him. So I think he can definitely be a number one or a good number 1 or a good number 2 pitcher.
All right, so that's team number, I guess, a 10 right there, and then number 9, and that's this second tier. We're gonna call it the Hudson Valley River Monsters.
Yeah, they've been around at NWLA for the last few years. We haven't gotten to play them, unfortunately, but Steve Tozzi looks like he could be making a case for being one of the better players at the tournament. Had a 1.20 ERA, and I think he hit 400. He hit 400 at regionals too.
And they had a good regional, 4-1, but a lot of these teams were 3-2 or 4-1 or 4-0-1 at regionals. So all of these teams had good regionals, except for the ones who just snuck in. Yeah. But all these teams are going to be good regional teams, and it looks like the River Monsters, also a great name, by the way, very original.
It is, yeah. I like that a lot. It's a good original name.
But they're part of the We Made It to Sunday tier, and we're going to start moving into the top 8 for our third tier, the See You in 2017 tier. So, because these teams are going to be guaranteed to make it next year to the national tournament. So if you're finishing in the top 8, you're going to make it. And we're going to start with Tampa Bay Wiffleball.
Yeah, Tampa Bay for the See You
champions.
2000. Yeah, it's really hard to put them in the, if we're going to make tiers, it's hard to have them in a tier other than the number
top
1
4,
tier.
yeah.
It just doesn't seem right. But obviously losing Michael Harley will be rough for them this year. He's one of the better players ever to come to the tournament. Shane Efforts is a good player that's not coming back this year. So, and then they are returning Chris Harley and Linderman. Those 2 solid players, but I don't know. They just don't seem like they're the same team that they once were in 2012 and 2013.
Because they did win. Was it the first year, right?
The second year.
Second year.
They
won
were the
the
runner-ups in the first year, and then the second year they won. So. Yeah, they don't seem like they're the same team that they once were. But you never know. That they could be this Troy Linderman guy that they're bringing. I still think we're not sure if it's Derek Linderman's son or
brother,
nephew or
nephew.
Yeah, I don't think it's been defined yet. But he is a Linderman, and he's from
he could
Tampa
be really
Bay,
good. Yeah.
So I'm sure Derek Linderman is bringing a good roster to that tournament. So I think they're going to be good. I just don't think they're a top tier team anymore.
All right. Then after that we have the Kalamazoo Wiffleball League. Won the regionals up in Morenci.
Yep.
4-0-1. Took us down as like the championship game. What a great final game to be. Great scheduling right there.
Yeah.
But they're in our See You in 2017 tier as well. Bad draw last year. They were out in 2 games. I mean, they very bad matchups. I think it was
OCWA and WSEM. I'm pretty sure what
yeah.
other 2.
OCWA and then Tampa because
Tampa. Okay. Yeah.
But that's a tough draw, and they were supposed to be in the danger field, but they weren't there.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're coming back a little bit reinvigorated this year, as you saw from the regionals.
Yeah. When we played them, we were kind of story of a lot of our games that we lose on the end is we were kind of ran out of gas, ran out of pitching. But at the same time, I don't want to take any credit away from who was the name? Oh, Mike Hogan, the pitcher on that team. He was definitely one of the better pitchers that we faced on that Saturday at regionals, if not the best pitcher.
Yeah.
And he's pretty good. He's got a lot of movement on his pitches, hits corners really well.
Dog strikes.
Yeah. I think he's actually gonna make a name for himself at nationals this year as one of the better pitchers at the tournament. He was pretty tough to hit.
Very tough. He won 2 games at regionals and ended up winning the regionals for Kalamazoo. The Keggers took down Morenci. And then, after that, in the same tier, we have the Skibby Wiffleball League. We know very much about them, the Griffleball. Mm-hmm. Good rivalry we have between the 2 teams. Seem to play each other every year, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them again at 2016.
Yeah. Skibby, obviously everyone knows the book on Skibby. Great offense. Pitching isn't quite there. They
have good pitchers, though.
They do have good pitchers. So, I mean, they do have the potential. I think in their tournaments, the recent tournaments, they've been there. They've made all the way through. They're there at the end of Sunday, but they just kind of like us, honestly, kind of like the GBL, that they run out of pitching at the end. That's what happened to them last year and the year before. So, if Skibby, Sam himself had a great regional pitching. So, can he step up and be an ace? And then obviously, if they have an ace to win the tournament, you're going to need two good pitchers. That's the strategy for good teams. And then who's going to be that number 2? Can it be Spencer Bogat? He pitched against us at Nationals last year. Had a good first couple innings, and then he lost his control. We rallied off him. So he's got good stuff, though. I mean, he threw hard with movement. So can he be the number 2? If Bogat and Sam Skibby are if they can be a good number 1 and 2, they'll be all right, because they can definitely hit the ball. They could like Kuna had a good game. Kuna was dominant the rest of the tournament, but they still mustered up 3 runs off Kuna. So I think with their offensive attack, they could actually score maybe 2 or 3 runs off the
top tier pitchers,
off the Kunas,
Farkases,
Bischoffs, those guys. So it's gonna be a question of, can their pitching keep the other team under 3 or 4.
And speaking of the Bischoff and the Farkases, in the CU 2017 tier, probably not going to make a lot of friends or fans for this one.
Yep.
Whiffle in Southeast Michigan, we have them in the second tier. It was very hard to decide this between us. I think we only gave because we're going to be in the top tier, we only gave ourselves the edge. We beat them at regionals.
Yeah.
By a little bit. So it's a new team, a new manager. They obviously back-to-back champions. I wouldn't be surprised if they three-peated at all.
Yeah.
And great pitching. One of the best leagues to watch around the nation, too. Mm-hmm. Their key to success is the new manager, Chandler Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing right there. It's the biggest factor for them. He's filling the shoes of Alex Shore, who was a legendary manager at the NWLA tournament. Can he rally his troops? Can he get that same effort and motivation out of his guys? Can he make the correct pitching decisions that Shore made so many times? It seemed like Alex Shore never really made a wrong move with his pitching rotation. There was games that he took out. I think it was either the championship game or it was one of the games later in the tournament, either last year or the year before, where Austin Bischoff, who was obviously one of their best pitchers, he gave him the hook, and then he brought in Evan Bischoff, his younger brother, and that was a great move, and they ended up winning because of that. So I think that was actually a championship game. So he always seems like he's making the right move. He always knew what he would get out of his guys. So is Chandler Phillips going to be that same guy? That'll determine what WSCM does. They have a lot of pitching. The hitting obviously they're not one of the best hitting teams, but they really didn't need to be. They won the last 2 just by getting guys out. So
they don't need to be a good hitting team with pitchers like that.
No, they don't.
But yeah, that was a very tough cut. Like I said, it's a very close call between Griffleball and WSCM for this last tier. So after that finishes off the CU in 2017 tier. And then the last tier, the top 4, calling off work on Mondays tier. We're going to call this the top tier because if you're going to be playing that late, you're going to have to call off work on Monday because chances are, if you win, you're going to be celebrating a little bit in Dublin.
Yep.
So we'll start off with Griffleball ourselves. Our key player, we've mentioned it a little bit before in the podcast, he's new to NWLA. He has been practicing. He is Ryan Voges.
Ryan Voges, yeah. So this will be definitely one of our X factors. He's what we were talking about a little bit. He's definitely one of the better pitchers in the GBL, one of the hardest throwers. So, we have Lidster. We know we're going to get a Lidster. He's one of the best pitchers there. We know we're going to get a Acuna, one of the best pitchers there. If fatigue is an issue, we're going to need either Voges or Feldy to step up and get guys out in big spots. So, as the games get later on Sunday, you really can't afford to give up more than like 1 or 2 runs in a game. So, we're going to have to make sure that our pitchers can get outs in big spots and not walk guys in. And Voges is going to have to be that guy for us, or Feldy. So that's definitely a good X factor.
Yeah, so the Griffleball Fat Cats in the top tier, called Pretenders, but also the numbers said we were going to win it all. That random number generator from WSCM picked us to win it all. I want us to win it all, but it's going to be a very tough competition.
Yeah.
And we're hoping, obviously, we're not going to root for anyone else but ourselves, but Griffleball, we want to win.
This is definitely the best chance we've ever had, the best roster that we've ever brought. So, there's really
best chance to get it done.
Yeah, if we don't get it done, it's on us. We have a lot of resources this year. So
then after that, after us, we have the HRL, the Home Run League, team that beat us last year. Their key player. They're always finishing in the top 5.
Yeah, it
seems like every tournament.
The HRL, they actually, he's kind of like HRL uniforms.
Yeah, they kind of do. Great. I like their uniforms. I really do.
Yeah. But they, obviously, we know about what happened with Tyler Flackney, smallpox, what he did against us last year. Great pitcher, arguably one of the best. Their tournament will rely on the same thing as a lot of these teams. Can they find a good number 2? Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Dr. Seuss? That seems like that has been the guy in recent years. That's their 1-2 punch, Flackney and Seuss. So can he be that guy? I think he's definitely a good enough to be number 2. So we'll see. It'll be up to him. Hitting wise, they know what they're doing. They take their walks. They can, they got some good hitters. 2 bats, a pretty good hitter they got. So, yeah. So, honestly, Flackney's going to win his games. He's going to win his double elim games. Can Dr. Seuss or their number 2 pitcher win those other games? That's when it comes.
Yeah, so if they get their number 2 pitcher going, they could be really good. The All-Stars could definitely take it all. And then we have next to last team in our last tier. We have the Hessfield Wiffleball Hitmen, who seem to be on a warpath anytime they play someone.
Yeah, they're very arguably one of the most impressive teams that I've ever seen. Just because they were a first-year team last year, they dominated their regional. They had a regional MVP. They came in, they had a hell of a tournament, and they even had the tournament MVP with Jimmy Cole. They throw a lot of strikes. They have a lot of depth pitching wise. You're gonna be hard pressed to find a team with more depth, pitching wise. They got like 3 or 4 guys that can just fill up the strike zone with velocity. So, and then hitting wise, obviously Jimmy Cole was one of the better hitters at the tournament. I think he led the tournament. Might have led the tournament in home runs last year. RBIs were up there and good average with him too. So they got a balanced attack. They do a lot of it. They do it all. So they'll have a chance to win. Obviously, I wouldn't. They could be a favorite to win it all. Really,
they really can. And then, all these teams in the last 2 tiers could easily win it all, in my opinion. And then the last team, which I really like this team, the Freaky Franchise, the Ontario County Wiffle Association. Great name, great league, and we know what they're about. They've won a championship at Nationals before. They were almost there last year. They almost somehow pulled it off in double limb. And just fell short against WSCM. I look for them to be one of the best teams again this year. Yeah,
it was an interesting dynamic they had last year. I feel like Chris Roeder kind of took over as like the best pitcher on their team. And it's almost like Ryan Bush had to take a back seat to Roeder. It wasn't a bad thing. Ryan Bush is still a great pitcher, but that was a good problem for them to have. Like, find another pitcher that's in your league that can be better than Ryan Bush, right? Good problem to have. And that's exactly what Roeder did. He dominated last year. Definitely one of the most accurate pitchers at the tournament. He didn't walk many guys. Not a lot of guys got base hits off him. He's got some good stuff. He faced us in 2014, carved us up. That's why I think that their key player is going to be Ryan Bush, because Ryan Bush is, he's got him and Roeder. That's arguably the best 1-2 punch at the tournament. What hurt them last year is they lost to WSEM. Ryan Bush ended up, I think, the bottom of the 6th inning against WSCM. I think he walked like 4 or 5 guys. All of a sudden, just to kind of like hit a brick wall against them. And for as good as he was, in double elim, you can't really afford to have that. And so they're going to have to avoid that again this year if they're going to get. Yeah, it's honestly it's tough to come out of the losers bracket in that tournament.
So that completes our tier rankings. The first tier, the calling off work on Mondays. You got GBL, HRL, Hessfield, and OCWA. See you in 2017. The second tier, Tampa Bay Wiffle, Kalamazoo, Skibby, WSCM. The third tier, we have the We Made It to Sundays, Potomac, Greater Auburn, Wild Wiffle Federation, and Hudson Valley. And then the Dangerfield tier was the last tier, Bruce City, Backyard Wiffle Ball, Minnesota, and Leroy. That completes our tiers. Anything you would like to say to all the teams who are watching?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing y'all out there next weekend. It's going to be a good time. Something tells me this is going to be a pretty exciting tournament for the GBL, for all the leagues really. And it's the best weekend of the year for the wiffle ball world. It's the one weekend where we all feel like we're Major League Baseball players out there. Galloway does a hell of a job.
Great job
organizing it. It's really, it's a wiffle ball player's dream, honestly, what Galloway has done. But you really can't say enough about it. So Just make sure we go out there and we all have a good time and enjoy what we're doing out there.
Yep. We'd like to thank the NWLA for amazing opportunities once again. We wish the best of luck to all the teams in the national tournament this weekend. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.